Hi. So in this video, we're going to go through the stages of physical awakening. So this is the path that people have to take to go from like quote unquote normal to ultra high levels of athletic performance. Right. So this is the terrain, the energetic terrain that everybody travels to reach ultimate physical skill. Right. So the first thing that you have to do is that you can't learn, you can't train unless you occupy the inner dialogue, or that you occupy self-importance, right? So you basically have to be free from the ego mind, free from judgment, right? Like, so if you're in a situation and you're like, that person's stupid, or this training method is dumb, or if you're in a situation and you feel any sort of criticism towards anybody at all, that's the chains or the limitations of the self. And so you have to, you either have to silence that thing or you have to occupy it. So one of the best ways to occupy it is with self-importance. So if you're doing something that you find important, like you're working on your business, or you're working on a cause that you really believe in, or you're doing something that's very important, like you're up on stage, or you're preparing to go up on stage, and you really believe in yourself, that sort of thing will make it so that critical mind actually, it's the equivalent of focus, but focus isn't actually an activity that you do. Focus is something that happens when that judgmental mind is relaxed. And so when you find something that the judgmental mind actually wants to focus on, it knows how to focus, so it relaxes and removes itself from the situation. So like when you're on stage, when you're doing something extreme, like a life and death situation occupies it. But like, so that's why people that are following their passion, following their joy, you basically finding something that occupies your self-importance, like something that you believe is important. When you find that thing and you're doing that activity, the self-importance itself actually focuses, and the focus is the relaxation. So in those moments, you feel freedom. It's not necessarily that the activity is giving you freedom, but you're having freedom from your self-importance. The other method is to just direct the thing. You actually have control over it, and so you can say, you can focus right now no matter what the self-importance is doing, and that's kind of like fighting a dog or fighting an animal. If you're not doing an activity that it cares about, it really doesn't want to focus, because when it focuses, it disappears. And so that's I'm going to sit at the wall and meditate, and get as much out of that meditation session as I would if I was training at the Olympic Training Center for the most important race in the world, or doing the most important job in the world. It's like you can develop the focus or the will to just like force it to, right? So what most people do, one or the other, of like, you're never going to find freedom by occupying your self-importance. It's like your path in life is to find your joy, your intent, your purpose, and it's like those two are usually at war with each other. Like the people that are crazy into meditation have that, and then the other people are very into like do what it takes to be great. So if you do both, you find something like moderately engagement, and then you also push yourself, force it to happen. You can develop the ability to have training sessions of at least a couple hours a day where your self-importance isn't distracting you. And so that is required for any sort of learning. You actually have to learn how to create those windows of time where there's focus, which is relaxation of the self-importance. So that's what guys are doing there. They're actually following this path that I'm talking about. This path doesn't exist until the self-importance is relaxed. Once it's relaxed, then you're able to actually just have your first practice and start your training session and do the thing. At that point, that training session, the training could be thought of as like walking over to extreme skill. So the better metaphor is the first step is you're basically jumping into the water. You relax your self-importance, and you feel or you become cognizant that you're in a medium. right? And that's coordination, is when people feel that they're in the medium and they move according to the fact that they're in a medium, and that medium, sometimes it's just chilling, like right here it's not moving very much. Sometimes the medium starts to move a lot because that medium will have another person in it, it'll have like a goal of a sport or a performance or a dance. And so once you feel that you're in that medium, it's a little bit like, what's the first step of swimming? It's to jump in the water. And the instant that you jump in the water, you start to move. If you acknowledge you're in water, which you are, right, you start to move. Those principles of being in water. So you have different methods of like pushing off of things, and different swimming methods. Whereas if you don't acknowledge that you're in water, imagine just moving around with water up to your knees and pretending that you're not in water. Or imagine being up to here and pretending that you're not in water, and it's like you can't kind of pretend because it's, oh, I can't do this. Like, see, there's nothing in the water that changes how I move. You can be very adamant that you're not in water. Because the water does let you do whatever. You can move through any field however you want to move through the field, right? You can move through a thick, watery field that has a ton of influence on you, and if you're willful enough, it acts the exact same way as if you're in air, unless something crazy's happened. So the instant that you acknowledge that you're in this medium of consciousness, you can go from just being in the water, and then also getting in the water deep enough that you can float and that it actually has influence on you. Right? So that's the first couple steps, is to actually be in the medium, and then after that, it's like there's a big shock and a big revelation to go from I'm not in the medium of consciousness to, oh my God, I'm in the medium of consciousness. That's to people that don't acknowledge that this is true, the acknowledgement of that truth, I can see understandably, would be a very big life-changing deal. Be like, oh my gosh. But also it's kind of absurd that it's a deal at all, because it's just the obvious answer. So I've forgotten that lake is a big deal. I don't understand it anymore. I don't remember, but I know that there was a time when this wasn't obvious, right? So there's some sort of shock, I guess, that has to happen to a normal person to start acknowledging reality in such a way that they have the potential or capability to develop physical skill. Because physical skill is swimming. How are there different ways of interacting with this thing? So the first one is basic swimming, of like the medium is relatively inert. And then how do I just use that presence to balance out, to center, to power my movements, right? Just how do I use movements to acknowledge that I'm in that medium? And then it's like I find areas where that medium is doing something crazy, right? So sporting events, particular areas under certain focuses, and that makes the whole pool, that makes the entire medium of consciousness start to behave differently. It'll have a giant current. When you're in a current, your physical abilities are radically different than if you're not in a current. If you're near a wave, then your physical abilities are radically different than if you're not near a wave. And so like Qigong, when nothing is going on right here, I can't do much more than just kind of like try and float, because I'm in an abandoned dugout. But if I came here during a sporting event, there's a certain movement pattern that's going on in consciousness, and I can interact with that movement pattern to unlock a greater and greater physical skill. Like a surfer, like you can be in a swimming pool and you can use water to do certain things, and it's impossible to use water to do other things that would be happening if you were at a wave break. You can't do the same things in a pool as you can at a wave break, even though both of them are swimming. So for certain types of physical skill, you have to go to the dojo, you have to go to the performance, you have to go to area of nature, you have to go to the surf break, you have to go to the mountain, you have to go to the thing. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck doing what you can do in a pool. Well, once you go to the natural phenomenon, which could be any number of like rivers, water features, and all that, it's that movement. Like if you go to the circus, if you go to the parkour gym, the movement of the consciousness in those areas that everyone's expressing gives you the impetus and the energy to unlock crazier physical things, because all of your body is dependent on how you move the consciousness in it and around it. So to learn an activity, you need to go where the consciousness is doing the thing that you want to do, and then it'll do that to your body. And once you've had it done to your body, then you can take the skill away, and since you're not separate from the awareness that does it in the dojo, once it happens because of the collective effort, you can do it again because you're not separate from that. So if you look at the path to really high levels of it's just cessation of the internal dialogue, a remembering or a reminding of the situation that you're in while you're capable of perceiving it with the internal dialogue silenced, and then going to where the environment will teach you to do the thing that you want to do. So like whatever you want to do, you have to go to where it's already happening. Like if you want to learn handstands, you go to where the person has handstands. If you want to learn baseball, you go to where baseball is happening. You have to learn things for the first time in this passive way. If there's intelligence, you have to go to where that intelligence is happening. And then the nature, the environment of consciousness in that area will perform it for you. The same way that like getting into like on a river, and you go over this rapid and the rapid throws you. It's like, what, you just learned how to tumble in this crazy way that wouldn't have happened without the river feature there. And that's how all skill is found for everything. Like the skills are just out there, they're just waiting, and then you just have to go there. And then it's like water culture reflects this very clearly. Like you look at how surfers behave, they learn the basic thing of swimming, and then they go to the area where the event that they want to do is happening. And then as they get better and better, they'll go to Jaws, they'll go to Nazarene, they'll go to surf competitions, they'll go to where the break is phenomenal. And where the break is phenomenal, it's the ocean that makes the surfer phenomenal. And that's true for all activities.